tourism industry in Kenya is worried that a presidential rerun slated for October 26th may hurt the sector if political violence erupts in the country. The industry was picking up a decade after a disputed presidential poll led to violence and left the vital tourism sector on its knees. As our East Africa correspondent informs us from the capital of Kenya, Nairobi, the opposition is calling for intensified protests every Monday and Friday going forward. She now joins us on the line. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. Now, exactly which Monday will this protest start? Mondays and Fridays? Is it going to be from tomorrow or from next week Monday?
From next week Monday, and to push the Electoral Commission to remove officials who the opposition says bungled the just concluded election, and they say also so that their demands that they have set can be met before the 26th of October when the country goes for special elections.
Now, Sarah, what's the reaction from opposition supporters as well as people on the ground with regards to this decision by the opposition?
Well, there's a sense of political fatigue from common Kenyans who feel that there is need for the country to go to elections and the country to get back moving, because it has been a year of just politicking, and now the effects being felt at the securities exchange among the common Kenyan, the small business traders. A lot of people actually think it's time to go back to elections, complete the process and get back to work. However, there is also a section of Kenyans who supported former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who feel that the country cannot just wish away that an election was nullified because of faults and irregularities that were committed by the Electoral Commission. And so they want that fixed before the country can go to elections. So the country finds itself divided once again, just like it was ahead of the August 8th elections.
Now, Sarah, with regards to the opposition walking out of the talks with the ruling party, Uhuru Kenyatta's party, is there a way of salvaging these talks and ensuring that all the parties are able to sit down and have proper discussions going forward before the elections take place on October the 26th?
At this point, it looks like the country will go to elections without the two teams having sat around the dialogue table and come to a conclusion, because the opposition is saying unless the laws which are likely to be passed by Parliament tomorrow are withdrawn from the House, then they will not see to Jubilee. Jubilee, on the other hand, is saying, look, one of the things that the Electoral Commission said is that there needs to be a complementary method of tallying the results. And they're also saying to prevent the Supreme Court from finding fault, should anybody decide to go back to court and petition the October 26th election results, then the manual system of election tallying and counting should be the one that takes precedence. So we are stuck at that, with the now opposition saying no, it should be electronic transmission. The Electoral Commission saying elections will be held on the 26th of October. We are ready. So that is where the country is. And indeed, the opposition saying there will be no election. Now, one of the amendments that are being made to this law that the opposition is, the Jubilee Party is taking to Parliament is that it's saying should any party withdraw from the elections, then the remaining candidate will be sworn in without the country having going to another election. Meaning, if Odinga today writes to the Electoral Commission and says he has withdrawn, then Uhuru Kenyatta will be sworn in without Kenya having to go through the first presidential elections.
Now, Sarah, just speaking of the withdrawal and the swearing in of the incumbent, so to speak, Uhuru Kenyatta, in terms of the Constitution and the laws that they're trying to change within the government, is it likely going to happen? Are they going to be able to change these laws going forward to ensure that the Supreme Court is not able to nullify an election as has happened?
Well, indeed they will, because today what they did, the Jubilee Party has majority in both the Senate and Parliament, and so they have managed to move the legal requirement for the number of days required for a law to be discussed for Parliament from 14 days to just 1 day. And so tomorrow what they will do is that they will be voting now on the laws. And so by close of day tomorrow, at least in Parliament, that will now be law, and then it will move to the Senate. They will discuss it. And then they're talking about 10 days for public participation. And after that, President Kenyatta will sign it into law once it's taken back to Parliament for the third reading. What it means is that with a majority in the House and with the opposition having walked out of Parliament also today, it means that the ruling party will have it very easy in the House. So yes, indeed, the law will pass. And now we asked the opposition, what happens if the law passes? They said they have several options. One of the options is going to the streets. They also are thinking of going back to court to challenge that law. But for now, it seems that much of the drama or much of the contestations will be played out on the streets and in Parliament.
Now, Sarah, let's just speak very quickly about the tourism industry in Kenya, where we saw a couple of years ago where it was literally brought to its knees, and economically it wasn't very good for the country. Now, currently, as we speak, with the opposition calling for protests on Mondays and Fridays, are we likely going to see violence erupting as was seen a couple of years ago in Kenya?
Probably what will happen is that there will be heightened tensions, especially because even though demonstrations and picketing is allowed in the law, the ruling party has said, and indeed President Kenyatta has said, that demonstrators will not be allowed to disturb business. And also the security minister has said that demonstrators will be dealt with force. So a lot of people will probably be looking to close their businesses every Mondays and Fridays to avoid, a lot of confrontation with police, with the demonstrators, meaning that business will receive another hit, a continued hit from what it has received already. In terms of tourism, some countries have already issued travel advisories talking about Kenya going through another election, pointing to demonstrations that will be taking place, and also talking about the possibility of violence ahead of those elections and after the election results are announced. So the country is actually, the treasury itself has actually downgraded and revised downwards the projected economic growth for this year, linking it to elections.
Sarah, what does this mean for the region of East Africa, with Kenya going through this election turmoil and, more elections coming, another election poll coming up on October the 26th? What does this mean economically for Kenya and for the region?
Well, as long as everything is moving as it is right now, because take, for example, trucks are still able to move from the port of Mombasa to landlocked Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So far, the effects may not be felt across the East African region, because what happened in 2007 is when the violence happened and trucks could now not move from the port of Mombasa through Western Kenya into Uganda, onwards to Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, then those economies were affected. But as long as there is no violence that would then affect the movement of goods from the port, then the impact will be very little as of now. But of course, it will still be felt, probably not as much as it would be felt if there was an outright fighting or an outright outbreak of war.
Now, Sarah, very quickly as we wrap up, we know that the religious community of Kenya was trying to resolve the issue or assist in resolving issues between the opposition and the ruling party. Do we know if they're still playing any part at this point in time?
Yes, we know that the Catholic Church has been trying to mediate behind the scenes between the political parties and the IEBC, that is the Electoral Commission. And yesterday, the Anglican Church came out very strongly asking for IEBC officials who may have bungled the elections to step down, and also calling for the Parliament, for the Jubilee Party to hold on to those laws that they want to change until the country goes to fresh elections.
Sarah, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us. That was our East Africa correspondent, Sarah Kimani, joining us on the line from Nairobi. And we must apologize for the poor sound quality.